Well, welcome back to the Greatest Project podcast. My name is Kelly Poole, and today I have one of the coolest people I think I've ever met. Yes. Oh, absolutely. This is Cru Mahoney. Welcome
Hello.
to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I saw your Instagram video, the one of you talking about just like being on your own and not drinking. I feel like it's probably the most viral one that you've...
The big one.
The big one that everybody's seen. Maybe 2 years ago when that was. And so like getting to meet you in person and you being exactly that, but then also just like 10 times fucking cooler as well. So I'm really excited to have you on today. Thank you for being here. And I want to take what we were just saying and leverage it into it. How do you come up with the shit you say?
Yeah. I mean, I just write every day.
Okay.
So I use the post-run every morning time as kind of, I just sit down, I prompt myself with, what do you think? Sometimes it's not the most productive, which I've been thinking a lot about productivity and how that's not always the best way to describe what you're going for, because productivity means you're trying to have a product. Half the time I'll just sit there and think for 30 minutes and go, oh, I didn't write anything, or I didn't think of anything quote unquote valuable.
Yeah.
But I always try and make what I write about based on something I actually experienced, or I'm talking to maybe a past version of myself, or I'm talking to kind of an archetype of person that I'm familiar with or I know. You know, so it's really abstract, but there are periods of time where I'll be kind of talking about the same exact thing every day, and you can tell that I'm probably dealing with that or talking to someone else who's dealing with that very specifically. When I'm in a better mood, that's when I'm more of an asshole and we'll do kind of the get off your ass kind of thing.
Totally.
But, you know, the obnoxious scale, there's a spectrum to it. So
since gaining traction, do you feel like what you post has to be held to a certain standard?
Well, it's so interesting because when my posts were doing horrendously, which was a really long time, I think everybody thinks their stuff takes a while to work. No. I see people blow up in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going, what are you doing? It took me 2 years of posting every day, doing the process I do now for anything to really pop. And I was posting twice a day. So it was kind of my 1,300 something-th post in a row. And you go, man, what is going on here? And so the responsibility for it to be quote unquote good, I've always felt that because the goal has been impact. You know, so you feel like you have a lot of good ideas, and in my case, I feel like I have lived very differently, especially for most young people for a lot of my life. And so then I go, okay, this definitely has to be accurate and true and good. And that was before anybody would really see it. It was just the 2,000 views every time, no matter what. I just never have something that had a K next to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because I constantly struggle with, well, do I write a sweet hook and get tactical with it to actually get someone to listen? Or do I just say it how I would say it?
Right.
Because the genuine version of that for me is I just want to say what I think.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, people are going to learn how to just listen to the bare bones thing. But then I kind of take social media out of the picture. You think about writing a book. People feel like a book is more virtuous than Instagram post. Well, they all have a title with the cover that looks a certain way, you know, and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, you know, the philosophers, well, they had to say something at first for people to sit around and listen.
Right.
You know, so I've been playing around with this because everyone wants to be a good person, and so do I. But then I go, well, should I just have a nice little tactical stinger of a hook so people listen to this shit? Because why is nobody listening to this shit?
Right. Do you feel like you still struggle with that? The wanting at least some type of external validation from it and wanting to see it succeed?
Oh, well, yeah. The number to me, there are two parts to it. The skill of it, where I go, okay, well, people who have bullshit to say, their stuff does amazing. And then I go, skillfully, I should be able to achieve the same thing and have it be valuable, right? That's just more so I don't know about competitive nature, but I just want to be good at things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so there's that part of it. The numbers, though, in reality represent impact. So people say, well, even if 10,000 people see it, I mean, that's still 10,000 people. You know, you go, wow, that is a lot of people. But what about 100,000 people?
Totally.
Because that would just be way cooler, because I'd be saying the same thing and more people might benefit from it.
Right.
Or get mad at it and have a moment of reflection. And then who knows what that could spark in that magnitude.
Yeah.
You know,
have you ever changed opinions that you know of the people who get ragey in the comment section?
Yeah. I've actually had some people message me specifically that.
Wow.
That they hated my stuff, or maybe not hated, but just really did not like it, and then kind of came around to it. So those are always interesting.
Yeah.
So I feel like that takes quite a bit to message someone saying. So go ahead.
What about you do you think triggers people so much? In that sense, because your comment section's a place to be, that's for sure.
Well, I don't know why too, because it'll be in some of the most tame comments ever.
Yeah.
As in, my comment is the most tame. The ones I receive maybe are not. But that's a great question. I think I'm bordering annoying in kind of the contrarian thing. So I try and dial that back a little bit, because my natural response to, oh, what do most people do? I'll take a guilty until proven innocent standpoint. And so, oh, most people spend their time doing X, Y, and Z. I go, okay, bad idea. Let me see if anyone proves that it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right? Most people drink and party and all that kind of stuff. And immediately I just go, no. Oh, this thing is really, really popular. You should listen to this song that millions of people love. I go, this probably sucks. I'm going to have to listen to this to see what I think. So I try to be less of that automatically, because I know that pisses people off. It just sucks when it's actually true to me, because some people try and be a contrarian just for the sake of attention, but it's actually how I respond to these things in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So even in providing advice, most people do the, well, you're valuable and you don't have to do anything to prove that, or a lot of these softer type of messages that they're very nice, and it panders to people's emotions, but at the same time I go, no way. That just can't be true, you know? And so I always try and, even if I'm agreeing with a statement, I won't repeat it the same way I've heard it. I want to say it to somebody in a way they haven't heard before, because that's what's actually going to resonate with somebody who hasn't heard all of the self-improvement stuff already, you know?
Right. What is your opinion on, because I feel like you were saying how the softness that some people deliver in is why it's going to be better received. Yeah. What is your view of then balance? And what does that mean to you in relation to, like, you're a very disciplined person? And I don't even know if discipline is the word that you use, because it comes what seems like so effortlessly to you.
Right. We'll see. Even with a softer message, because maybe it's horrible to claim this of myself, but I'm actually relatively emotionally intelligent, so there's a place for everything. Unfortunately, when somebody sees a post on social media, they think it's for them. I'm just typing it on my phone in my living room.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a difficulty there, in that if you're listening to a message, you have to know if it applies to you. And then if it doesn't, go, this probably applies to somebody else, but not me. So I'm not going to get mad at it, because he's not actually speaking directly to me.
Yeah.
You know, and in a lot of cases, people message me saying, man, just everything I'm dealing with, you're speaking right to it. I go, all right, well, I guessed well on that one. But it's so difficult to deal with the balance thing, because maybe I'm having the best day ever, and I sit down to write, I go, get off your ass and do this, and freaking, you know, more Goggins, whatever kind of stuff, which I veer a little bit further from that, because that's more of a ignore your emotions and do something. I'm more of a understand them and do something.
Yeah.
Might be the same thing, but you know, it's tough, because the balance thing, the lifestyle balance concept is a classic one to me, because people love the idea of, I'm going to treat myself really well, and then I'm going to treat myself poorly.
Yeah.
And then it's an even wash. I'm going, oh, well, that's ridiculous. because now you're just still kind of where you were.
Yeah.
Balance, I think, is really difficult to achieve when you want a polar characteristic. And polar could mean good, because good is the polar opposite of bad. If you want to be really good, you want to be really nice, you're going to have a much higher chance of people walking all over you. That's not balance, but you're the nicest person ever, right? Oh, I want to be the most athletic and the most disciplined and all that great stuff. Well, you're going to have an imbalance of, I don't know, sitting around and doing nothing. Everything is actually imbalance, but the balance thing is such an attractive thing to the average person, which I think is why things like this get inflated. Do both. I mean, you can you can treat yourself really well, and then you can relax in a positive way, and then you can go really hard at a freaking half marathon or something, and then spend time doing nothing, but you're with your friends and you're having a great time. But people think it's, oh, do the marathon and then do heroin the next day. I'm going, bro, that's not the one. Wrong balance.
I had a client say to me today, she was like, every time I go out to eat now, I feel like shit. I was like, yes, correct. She was like, is it going to be like this, or am I ever going to have my digestion get to a point where it'll then allow me to go out to eat? And I was like, it's actually the opposing point, that you always felt that way. You're now just in your body enough to have the awareness that when you do go out to eat, you do feel puffy, inflamed, bloated, lethargic, all of the many things that we now know. And so more so than anything else, eventually you'll stop wanting it because you'll realize what that food is specifically doing to you. And so
yeah, that's a hard one to get across, though.
Yeah.
Because when you feel really healthy, you can't resonate with being sick. When you're freezing, you can't resonate with what it's like to be warm. You remember that you were warm at a certain time, but you can't actually embody that in that moment. So when somebody is dealing with the food thing, which I think is a huge one, just across the board, most people probably struggle with that in some way. It's hard to imagine that you just wouldn't want the thing.
Right.
Because they go, okay, my desire for this is always going to be there. Perhaps my skill around the desire is going to be better. Food is one of those things where you actually get a free pass when you're really good at it. Few things are like that, because the best lifter in the world, they have to lift the most weight. The best runner in the world, they have to run the farthest, the fastest. When you have a high capability, you have the highest responsibility. When you're the best at eating, which sounds kind of funny, you have to worry about it the least, which is amazing. I mean, I never ever think about it. I'm a hard ass when it comes to the food thing. I don't do any of the processed stuff, any of the sweets. I haven't had a cookie in probably 8 or 9 years. I mean, I'm just obsessive and ridiculous. People think that's the hardest thing possible.
Yeah.
80-20. The 80% right, the 20% whatever you want. That's way harder.
Yeah.
It requires way more honesty, way more skill, way more timing, planning. I just eat the same way all the time. Somebody asks me if I want to try something. Nope. Zero thinking.
Yeah. Because when you're all in, right, there is no even trying to figure out what the 20% looks like.
Yeah.
I want to jump back to you said you are claiming emotionally intelligent, which I entirely agree with. I will jump out and say. What is the difference for you between somebody who is having productive introspection versus overthinking themselves into a black hole?
Yeah, I mean, probably the same exact thing, honestly. Just because I still have the same tendencies when it comes to thinking, but my life is just way better now than it used to be, right? Because the anxiety, the worrying, the compulsion, that used to be my identifying trait, right? It was just, I'm always forward thinking, and then it's bad, right? It's the weekend, but then there's Sunday, and then Sunday leads to Monday.
Right.
And I don't like that. Right. And so my mind works exactly the same in amplitude, but it's just a different direction. You know what I mean? So my mind is still running 1,000,000 miles an hour, but it's just in a way better place.
Yeah.
I think the overthinking, I don't know, that's something that I glorify because it's awesome. Most people just are walking around kind of dead. And then you see the person that just can't stop thinking about that thing and I can't go to sleep at night and whatever. I go, hell yeah, let's go. I mean, because that's exciting to me. I like when somebody's brain is actually working and trying to process something. Probably means they're trying to overcome something pretty big or meaningful. And there's just fullness to that. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really answer your question super well.
Hey, that's okay. Let's say there's a client that you're coaching somebody through a situation of like they are overthinking to the point where it's like stuck all in a negative thought loop.
Yeah.
Whereas yours seem productive in at least moving you forward or the actions that you're then taking forward.
Yeah.
Or at least it seems like whether or not you're thinking of something positive or negative, your own perception of what you're thinking regardless is positive, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So great distinction. The theme of my life is wildly optimistic.
Yeah.
But the freedom to feel whatever is going on right now is actually super close to the honesty thing. I think if people just heard what I said half the time, they might think I'm negative, actually. Because I'm totally... I allow myself to just say, I hate this so much. Today is freaking worse. This is garbage. Because I know that maybe it's a dip in the chart. I'm like, oh, this sucks. I'm totally free to be honest about that. But then I know that the full picture is positive. So I'd say if somebody is constantly falling into the negative, last thing I would say is, well, try to be more positive. Oh my God, what are we doing? When somebody says that kind of stuff, it just pisses me off because it's coming from the identity, right? This hypothetical person has dealt with negative things in the past. They feel negatively. I go, okay, literally don't try and change that. Mm-hmm. Plan to feel bad for the next 100 days. But let's build the evidence that you are the kind of person you'd like to be. You have to mend the relationship with yourself. You have to detach from this, oh, I don't deserve anything, I'm a bad person kind of thing, because that's what the past evidence is proving. And I use the term productive arrogance, because if somebody is trying to eat well, right, or exercise all the time, and that's just not them, they would have to resonate in some way upward. Yeah. You have to resonate upward. And I don't know, it's not a very nice outward message, but when I'm talking to one person, I'll say, a little scoff here and there just to reinforce your own confidence of what you're trying to do might be okay. Why not go to the airport and you see everyone eating like shit and you go, Jesus, why not?
Because I've told my clients the same thing before. I'm like, you're better than everybody else.
Well, I mean, there's got to be a little bit of that. You have to pretend and then, have it maybe be real at a certain point in that category. We're not saying actually being better than everybody.
Right,
but, right. There's real utility to that, I think.
Absolutely. When did you adopt such an acceptance of your own emotions? Because I feel like people do view negative emotions more as frustration than anything else. Like, great, I'm so negative. Why am I always thinking this way? Why is this part of me like this? Yeah. You have such an acceptance for that part of you, which then makes your life so much better.
Yeah, well, now that I think of it, the productive arrogance has probably been around for a long time for me. Yeah. Because in school, for example, I mean, that was the real heart of all of my problems growing up. At least the biggest extension of the real problem, which is internal, of course, but just this anxiety and just this mental consumption. Right, that was school for me. There's no point in all of those years. I mean, I ran away from school. I mean, it was awesome, right? And I say it's awesome because I still think the exact same thing. Back then, if you asked me, I would have said, this is wrong. I should not be here. This is ridiculous. These teachers don't understand. None of the kids here understand the way that I want to live, the way that I think, the way that I observe what's around me. And it's not to do the whole movie character, chosen one, superhero kind of thing. It's just, I've had that certainty. Yeah. My ability to control myself in those scenarios was abysmal. So it's not like I was so refined and heroic or anything at that point. But I did have that productive arrogance. I resonated upward. I said, this is the problem. Because I couldn't believe that wanting to just live and be happy and not sit in this stupid school for 8 hours a day, how could I think that was wrong? You know, for whatever reason, I believed myself in that case.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that confidence came from. I think maybe it's more of just a obsession over observing. Because that was always my big thing.
How did that not black sheep you? If anything, right? Like it became an arrogance thing of like, oh, like you guys are wrong versus I feel like most people when they feel that way, it's like, am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question because I think, it should turn into that compared to, or you know, using that example of how most people process it. I think one of my biggest missions when I was really young was to learn as much as I possibly could from other people's mistakes. And so I always use this example, but when the fire department comes to your elementary school and they say, oh, well, this person freaking ran off the side of the road because they were drinking alcohol or whatever, and you go, whoa. But then everybody just starts literally doing that. And I'm going, wait, didn't you guys remember the assembly where the fire station came and told us all these things not to do?
Yeah.
And so I became obsessed with actually listening. So I think, yeah, well, these 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds and even 20-year-olds at that point, they must know more than I do. So let me latch on to that. And then I would see people acting against all these things that we constantly learn. Treat people how you like to be treated. And then you see someone acting like a piece of shit and you go, what? You didn't hear the thing? This is a saying.
Right.
It's pretty colloquial, isn't it? You know, and I would be so confused as to why people wouldn't do the quote unquote right thing. And so I think that kind of instilled some confidence in that too. But, you know, it's just so funny to think back to that point. 'Cause, you know, you're 7 or something.
Right.
And you don't really know how to explain nearly
You're like
anything.
the conscious baby.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, the freaking...
That was you.
That was the funniest little... It was wasn't it a video of some kid and he was just...
Going to like Four Seasons Disney or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I feel like that's how you were. Because I think became conscious at like 22.
Really?
Yeah. I've always known that I was weirder than everyone else in the sense of like I felt more deeply than everyone else around me. Just like didn't want to be like them.
Yeah.
Like I unfortunately didn't have the boundary setting skills that you had. All my friends were getting drunk and I just wanted to be liked by them, but I always hated it.
Yeah.
So I actively knew that I didn't want to be doing it while I was doing it. And it took a long time. I started bodybuilding at 19 and it was great telling people no because they're like, you're 19, come drink with us. And I'm like, nope, don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I hear a lot of people say the exact same thing and pretty valid, honestly, because I don't know. I don't think most people grow up in an environment where someone is telling you that you know what you're talking about, especially when you're really little. You know, and I definitely had people, I mean, my mom and my grandfather really stand out people in my environment that actually granted me, hey, you actually know something. You know, and I remember my mom, again, this is little child memory, but I remember my mom talking to me about things that she was dealing with. She seemed pretty real and kind of, I don't know, just sharp. You know, when most parents are very, very soft and kind of baby talk their kids and stuff like that. And my grandfather, I mean, he's incredible, by the way. I think he's 78. And he was here a few months ago. We're at Lift ATX. He's deadlifting and stuff. I mean, he's jacked.
Way.
He lifts every day. He goes skiing and stuff. He's insane. But always from him. I mean, I can't remember a time at all where he didn't give me the real truth. You know, the real idea about everything.
Yeah.
And that's the most powerful thing ever. I mean, when I have kids of my own, that's the biggest thing I'll probably carry into that.
Yeah.
Is talking to them like they understand. That's what makes them understand.
Totally.
You know, and so it's these little things that even back then I would think of and go, this is this probably means something. You know what I mean?
How was it like forming relationships with other kids who were definitely not like that?
Yeah, you just get that you're with somebody, but you're more with yourself, talking to yourself kind of experience.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I decipher between somebody who really belongs in my life or environment versus someone who doesn't. If I'm talking to somebody, it feels like they're alive. My mind, my internal dialogue gets to shut off a little bit and it belongs to that conversation. That I go, oh, okay, this is real. Plenty of people you talk to, I think everybody can kind of resonate with it, but you're observing them talking to you. You say some things, but really you're in your mind just going, oh man, what the heck? This is crazy. You know what I mean? It's just that dialogue. So yeah, I think that would be kind of the best metric to determine.
I've never heard someone articulate it in that way, and I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just like the level of consciousness of what matters to them more so than anything else.
Yeah. It's I don't know, because you said that you knew, reflecting on kind of that 19 age range, that you wanted to do certain things, were kind of getting pulled in the other direction. Or you said that's when you started bodybuilding, but just in that kind of dynamic. Everybody knows. They must. You know what I mean? Because it's just basic information. People are really interested in feeling the thing for them to know, to learn the lesson. That I think is a really big difference that I kind of made growing up. Is I said, I do not want to experience it. I'm going to take everyone's word for it.
Got it.
Because the partying thing and just that kind of lifestyle, I think people take that on as, oh, this is chaos. This is something new. This is kind of edgy.
Yeah.
Everyone does that one.
Yeah.
You know, so I kind of took my life as an experiment. Said, well, let me see what happens when I just kind of do what everyone advises.
Yeah.
And I'm not just blindly listening to people, but you know what I mean? Just seeing people's mistakes and, oh, this person talks this way. Nobody likes them. I'm not going to be that way. You know what I mean? This person has no self-awareness, doesn't realize that they, I don't know, smell like shit or something. All right, well, I'm gonna shower. I'm gonna make sure that I don't. I'm not the smelly one or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's kind of a big focus of mine.
The closest thing that I can relate to that is like I've never done a hard drug in my life, and everyone, of course, we live in Austin, so it's around and it's well, and I have no desire. Because of the way that other people talk, the way that they're speaking highly of it, I'm like, that's the exact thing I don't want.
Yeah. Well, it's just that's the thing I was saying earlier. I when a lot of people like something or advertise something, I just gross. You know, it's just an automatic turn off. You know, and I think again, confidence kind of breeds everything. If you have low confidence, breeds a lot of problems. If you have high confidence, I think it's good as long as it's not delusional. But the confidence is what allows you to not want to take part. Because if someone just needs belonging, there you go. They'll go right for that. But the interesting thing is the saying no. I mean, what for you? What was the desire to say no? Because it's an exciting thing in my experience. When you were bodybuilding and no, I'm gonna eat a certain way and do the thing.
To say no to the alcohol?
To anything external that was conflicting to your goals.
I'm going to go based on exactly what you said, confidence.
Yeah.
I was just so convicted in what I was doing that nothing else mattered. And so, everyone else, I mean, I was a weird kid in that sense of I was the first one carrying around my little gallon jug and doing all of the things. And you almost get high from saying no. I feel like in the same sense that you do, where it is the arrogance of like, yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that, of course, thinks I'm better because of that, because of 4 a.m. cardio or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think the only way for that to not be virtue signaling is if you say that you're virtue signaling. You know, because I say the hardest part about taking an ice bath is not posting about it on Instagram. Super true. I've yet to master that one. Not posting it.
I mean, what are you on day almost 2,500?
So the run, today was 2,497.
Wow.
Of the run, and then the ice bath is.
If someone doesn't know, tell them.
The what? The run?
What you do?
Yeah. So the run streak, that's the main thing. So wake up at 5, run minimum of 1 mile. And that's about almost 7 years now. So I was 17 when I started that.
Wow.
And then the ice bath, that's 797 in a row.
Wow. Even when you travel, you like go find one?
Yeah, we'll find one. I mean, in the past year, I've probably only traveled here and then moved here.
Yeah.
There's plenty
and
of
you
them,
you can find a lot of ice baths here.
Yeah. So, that's the streak that we're holding.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, that alone, like the confidence builder of that.
Yeah.
The life that you live, I imagine, is like very similarly to the life that like I would live when I was a bodybuilder, where it's just like that level of regimentation and your internal confidence level is just like a 10 all of the time.
It is. And I mean, the saying no thing resonates huge because along with, you remember the DARE program?
The drugs and
Yeah. So I think they stopped it before I got to 5th grade, but I was always so interested. But again, I mean, whatever advice, it's funny, whenever I'm thinking back to these things, I always just picture my elementary school gym because that's where they had all these little assemblies. And that just holds a pretty strong memory in my mind, all this kind of stuff. But they would say, oh, if you go somewhere and somebody offers you candy or something, and they would tell you to say no.
Yeah.
And I built up the most resilience you could imagine to anything that anybody could offer me or try and get me to do. And nobody ever asked me. Oh. To this day, I'm going, please, somebody offer me drugs.
No one's offered you drugs?
Maybe, actually, back home, I was skateboarding just around my neighborhood, and some guy asked me if I do that angel dust or I smoke that angel dust or something. I said, nah. And then I did a backflip off of this tree stump in his front yard because he was filming a music video or something, or a rap video. I said, this is hilarious. But no, not in a serious kind of setting.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would be delighted to say no. It feels awesome.
I'll find someone to ask you.
Yeah, please.
I'm not going to offer you drugs. I don't have any, but
dang it.
I'll find someone who can give you a real offer.
Okay, sweet.
Circling all the way back around to your coaching conversations and like even that, what do most people come to you for?
Well, a lot of people come for the practical stuff.
So
nutrition, fitness, that kind of stuff. I don't do any of that. I mean, those are my hobbies. You know what I mean? So if somebody wants advice on that kind of thing, I'll say, yeah, I mean, that's just a small little extension of who you are. If you feel like shit, you eat like it. You know what I mean? If you think poorly of yourself, you probably exercise poorly. Yeah. Or, with poor intent, at least. I don't think that those things matter so much as the individual carrying them out. So I'll tell somebody, look, we can make plans all day long. Better yet, you can not spend a lot of money and go to ChatGPT and give it your whole scenario, and it'll tell you the plan. But it's the mentality of the person trying to carry it out that actually matters. And so some people come to me for that. Other people, it's very existential, and that's some of my favorite people to work with. I will say the trait of somebody that I love to work with is somebody that will just explain what they're thinking. That's kind of it. You know what I mean? If somebody kind of sits there and just doesn't really want to speak about it, I go, well, this isn't a TED Talk. You know what I mean? Got plenty of YouTube videos if you want to check those out. But it's so different. I mean, it really is so different, but I would say the core of it is something to do with purpose. Because if somebody can't get out of bed, somebody can't, I don't know, do something they enjoy for a living. Somebody can't exist productively in their relationships. It's all the same thing. Because anything that could possibly be on your to-do list, if you were offered $10 million, you would just get it done. Right. Oh, I just want to wake up early every morning and blah, blah, blah. I go, why? And I say, well, I think it'd be good. And I go, is that a good argument for when you're in your bed at 5 a.m. and you do not want to do it?
Yeah.
all right, get up. Well, it'd be good. No, no one's going to utilize that as a strong enough purpose. But hey, waking up early this morning is the very thing that's going to change my life and give me everything I'm looking for and reinforce the character I want to see built within myself. That's a good enough purpose. And if somebody can wake up, remember that, they'll probably be way more likely to stand up out of their bed than if they're just utilizing, oh, this would be a good idea. That's not going to work.
Yeah. What if your clients taught you that you didn't expect to learn from them?
I don't know if there's any one thing. It's definitely that people are so different. So I guess everyone that I've worked with in kind of a culmination in that sense has taught me that. It's a good question. I almost learned too many things, and it gives me a lot of opportunity, even just to reflect on myself. A lot of what I write about and talk about might stem from a conversation that I've had with somebody. More than anything, though, I think they've taught me how available really positive change is to everyone. And that's what I'll tell folks. Because I'll explain my life too, because I want the people I'm working with to have context as to who the heck they're talking to.
Totally.
I'll explain what my past and my evolution of myself, I guess, has really looked like. And by no means has a huge change in my life given me I'm better than anyone, or I'm the star. It more so does the opposite. It just goes, well, literally everybody can make these kinds of changes.
Yep.
Reasonable to their situation. Of course, it's not me. But yeah, it's kind of opened my eyes to that even more so. Of course, that's why I started it in the first place, but people just keep proving it, which I think is cool.
Yeah. I love that, and I equally think that that's one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you say that, right, it's nothing to do with the fitness side of things for you almost. Did it start that way for you equally? So a lot of people, it's going to be reverse to what you said. So they start their fitness journey and then it turns into oh, well, my body's getting better if I do this thing every day. So let me do something internally so that my mind gets better. Was it opposite for you, which is how you know it to be true, that it starts internally?
That's a good question. I definitely think that is how most people go about it. And it's funny because I remember looking back, and maybe with running specifically, I would think, okay, well, when I get to a certain point, then I'll kind of be good to go. I think that's most people's mindset. When I work out for a while, then I can just kind of hang out and I don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I was going to say, unfortunately, it is really fortunate in reality. The more value you build within yourself, the more you have to do to maintain it. Again, the person who can lift the most has to lift the most, that kind of thing. The reason I started the daily running in the first place was because I did not like to run. And so I figured, okay, if I can be more consistent at this thing that I hate than most people are with the things they enjoy even, there has to be something to that. Because, I don't know, when it comes to fitness, one thing that I recognized, I would go to the gym and I'd go, I'm doing bodybuilding style. I'm not really pushing it or anything crazy. Then I see some people just going after it. I'm thinking, I don't think I'm doing that. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm really getting to the bottom of this. And I'm huge into minimalism. So with a lot of people, I'll talk about organizing their space and getting rid of stuff. And one of my clients, I've freaking loved working with her, but I kind of just made her do a basement freaking tear apart and reorganize kind of thing. And it was awesome. And she did it and loved it. But I go, it can't be taking a few things and moving it around and you're just working with the surface stuff. I'm talking, we're taking the shovel and we're digging to the floor of this freaking basement and we're moving everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most people won't do that kind of overhaul on their life, right? And the running every day, that felt like my overhaul. I'm going to wake up early every single morning and go right towards the thing that I hate to do.
Yeah.
Through that, that's my education. So I mean, a lot of people ask, what's kind of my background, or do I have a degree in something or whatever for the coaching and mentorship? And I go, no, I didn't go to college. You know what I mean? But who out of these certified folks are actually out there doing the thing that they're talking about?
100%.
And so, that's yeah, that's kind of the education part for me.
That I also coach coaches on how
Yeah.
to create successful businesses.
Yeah.
You are far more embodied because you do it every day. Like you 100% live in that embodiment of it, right? So many of them have mountains of certifications, continued education, but the missing piece is them doing it and like fully being in that, which is so cool to see. That's where you go. You say her a lot when you talk about your clients. Do you notice a difference between working with men and working with women, and just like fundamentally, obviously, like I'm a female and you're a male, our brains and like our biology is going to be different. How do you see those play out in what you do?
It's a good one. It's so tough because from person to person,
100%.
there are so many differences too. I mean, gosh, I find such a variety. I mean, aside from what we kind of all know are the obvious differences. I mean, I'll have some females I work with that are a little bit more needing of the tough love and the structure and that kind of thing. And, I'll work with some guys that kind of need the opposite. Right. And so I find it's very interesting because in a coaching sense, people think that everybody needs the kick in the ass.
Yep.
Some people need you actually do everything and you're obsessed with everything. And I would say, you can dial it back and all that kind of stuff, but that's actually not the route that I go. It's more of a, yeah, me too. Here's how to make that a positive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, gosh, the dynamic there, that is, I honestly don't have a straight up answer on that one. It's
That's
just,
okay.
There's so much variation.
I literally yesterday was binging all of your videos just I watch them all of the time because they're phenomenal, but was just binging all of them. And one, we're talking about hookup culture.
Yeah.
And so like, I didn't know, I talk a lot about like masculine and feminine energies because I work with a lot of just women in the space, and obviously our bodies are different and emotions are different and all of those things.
Yeah.
What is your perspective of like the masculine and the feminine, I guess, if you even...
Yeah. I think about that quite a bit because a big thing I've recognized in the relationship context today is an empowerment and detaching.
Yeah.
So I'm huge on the self-respect, keeping promises to yourself, that whole thing. The relationship with you and you should be incredible. People are always looking for solutions, so they stop there. I don't need anybody. I don't need anything. I'm going to travel by myself. I'm going to do this. I don't want a family. They go hard, right? It's just me. And they think that that's empowering because, I won't be open to anything that could risk that for me, and it's not going to open up myself to be hurt or to have a really difficult time or to have to trust somebody. Real strength actually is building the sense of self. That has to be the foundation. But that's actually just the start because humans need community. We need relationships. It's positive to count on somebody for something. I used to go down that rabbit hole. I'd go, okay, what would it be like if everyone disappeared right now and it was just me alone on the earth? And I would sit in these questions for a long time. And eventually I go, I can't do that. I can't exist in that place because that's not even real. And if that was real, everything would be different. But that version of me would be dealing with that problem. So let me not ruminate and go too far down, that rabbit hole. So the masculine feminine thing, I find that most people have a really hard time by themselves, right? Because a lot of folks can only offer one. You know what I mean? So if somebody's very, very kind of soft and emotional for themselves, they don't have the discipline. They don't have the put my foot down and say what I'm going to do. If somebody is the discipline and put my foot down kind of person, they very rarely have the opposing kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think as an individual, you have to learn both. I'm actually very nice to myself. You know what I mean? I'm very emotionally intelligent for me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that definitely takes a long time to learn. In kind of a relationship context, probably the most masculine person ever probably needs the most feminine person to be kind of the corresponding figure there.
Yeah.
Right. So I think, I don't know, everyone's kind of different. So if it's 70% here, you kind of need the 30% here to make the match. But yeah, people will, they'll clash in relationships because one is not being offered. Then let's say the ultra masculine then has to overcompensate for a lack of the feminine, and then becomes what the feminine wouldn't want because they want the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of innate when you think about it. But then, you know, social media and everything just steers people one way, and everyone's brains are just crowded. But when it comes down to it, I mean, it's actually kind of simple, I think.
Yeah. You do, I feel like, a phenomenal job of being both in such a healthy way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I try. It's
And I don't think men have a great grasp on that. Like, to me, you're a very masculine man, but yeah, you are very in tune with your emotions, yet you don't allow them to like necessarily control what you do. How did you get to that standpoint? Or to even, I mean, you said obviously like your upbringing, but also when did you learn to accept those emotions and still implement and integrate in a masculine way?
Yeah, well, because I think when you recognize what strength actually is, again, I think the strength is building the solid me relationship. And then you go out into the world and basically set yourself up to be hurt. And most people's response to, okay, relationship, I trust somebody with my life. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. And then they screw it up and never talk to you again. And you go, what?
Yeah.
This thing just happened to me, and the person that I would talk to about this is the one that did this to me.
Yeah.
Right? Nearly everybody's response to that is going to be I'll never do this again. I will never open myself up to somebody. I'll never be honest. I'll never trust somebody again. That's a rough direction to go. So I think recognizing the real strength, because I'm just really honest with myself. And that's just my biggest thing. I think if people just kind of said the truth to themselves loud enough, they probably wouldn't get too caught up in what everyone else thinks and what everyone else is up to. If there was just a magic wand, all right, everybody on Friday night here in Austin, Texas, be honest and do exactly what you wish you were doing despite what everybody else is doing. I guarantee you everybody would be doing the exact same thing. Even still, it just wouldn't be getting blackout drunk and partying and doing drugs. It would just be the thing that's true to them, which I think everybody has in common.
Yeah.
But everyone is pleasing everyone. But everyone is made up of everyone doing this bullshit. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think the honesty, because again, I feel this way. I'm not hiding from the fact that I feel this way. Am I wrong to feel this way? Nah, I mean, come on. You know what I mean? This can't be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of how I'll interact, I guess, with my own emotions. So like, I don't think this is problematic because this is definitely in response to something. Maybe the way it's manifesting in my life is not how I want it to be. That would be kind of the panic attacks and the, you know, crash outs and stuff growing up. But yeah, I think, again, it's my favorite thing to do is to kind of assure people that they're overthinking or they're worrying or these traits that are demonized are not actually bad things. And so the honesty, being sad about something for a really freaking long time, you know, still not a problem. It can't be a problem. Because if that's the problem, you're going to seek to fix the problem.
Right.
Lose the emotion, basically. Along with the emotion, you lose yourself. Right? So you go to a freaking therapist or whatever the hell to get rid of your sadness. And they say, hey, try out this little pill here. Well, along with the sadness goes a part of you. Right? And it's you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So most people fuck up through the lack of integration of the parts of themselves that they reject most, which is anything deemed negative. And then they go and they numb it by doing all of the things that they think should make them happy, which is really just what everyone else is doing, not what they want to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, everybody wants community and that sort of thing.
100%.
Me too. But I've always been stubborn enough to put myself first. So I'd go, okay, I'm setting my ways. So either people are going to latch onto this or I'm going to be alone forever. And I go, the latter can't be true. So
Yeah.
I think it's just going to take a lot longer. But yeah.
How would you tell someone to start integrating that frame of thought to start choosing themselves first if they've never done it?
Yeah. So to become any kind of person, you have to pretend to be them until you are them. And so kind of everything is a fake it till you make it, which that's kind of a shitty version of what I'm saying, but you know what I mean? There definitely is that. You don't feel like the person that runs every day and does the ice bath and eats well all the time and articulates their ideas until you've done it so many times.
Yep.
And I think people are waiting for the feeling to then propel them into the action.
Yep.
It's kind of the other way around. However, you don't act like the person forever and then one day it just pops up. You probably hit the gym for a week and then you go, oh, yeah, maybe I'm the kind of person that does this a little bit. And then that confidence reinforces doing it again. And then doing it again adds a little bit more of that confidence and it kind of works up in that way. But typically people will stop right before it's about to get good.
Yep.
This is an analogy that probably is horrible, but I think it's a pretty fun one. You ever pulled back a bow?
Yeah.
A compound bow? So when you get to that point, right before it has the most tension, and then you pull a little bit further, and then you could just hold it there forever. That's kind of what it's like to eat really well, for example, or exercise every day. People go up and go up and go up. 1 day of eating well, 2 days of eating well, 10 days, this is 10 times harder than it was the first time. 30 days, are you kidding me? But then at a certain point, it's not difficult at all.
Right.
You could just hold it there forever. A month of working out every single day, are you for real? You don't even think it. You just go to the gym after a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The difficulty of these things come back down. So people stop right before that curve flattens out because all they feel is this increase in difficulty. And if they just hung on for a little bit longer, that difficulty comes right back down to baseline. To where all this stuff that I do, I make my morning a pain in the ass, but my morning now is no more difficult than my morning was 10 years ago because it's all come back down to baseline. That is my baseline. That's my default.
Yeah.
Right. And so people need to hang on. That's really my answer. Do the thing for longer than you feel like doing it.
Oh, yeah, as they should. What in your life right now is the biggest project that you're working on, whether it's like in something that you're currently struggling with or just like a goal that you have in your life, as you are obviously the greatest project you will ever work on?
It's true. Definitely most of my answers are kind of just character development in a sense. I think a practical thing that's kind of more so fun to try and overcome, but still is a thing, is actually business, because I hate to promote stuff and talk about what I do, but then it's my main source of where I feel I'm impacting people.
Yeah.
I would say on the greatest scale or the grandest scale, I kind of want to be a household name. You know what I mean? Just to have huge impact, because I think a lot of people get ultra famous and then they're a celeb, and that's a completely different thing.
Yep.
Right? But when you have huge impact, but the sense of self is really there, I that's really attractive to me. Building community is a massive thing because, God, I would say the defining factor of, I don't know, my whole life, really, up until maybe the last year or so, was just loneliness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I wasn't going to budge on who I was. That gives you some lonely moments for sure.
Yeah.
So building community, that's a huge one. Just relationships with people, really cultivating that. I think it's one of the most fulfilling things to me. conversation being more productive in a non-work sense. I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people get the luxury of realizing this. A lot of people get the luxury of making money, but then they don't have the realization that continuing to chase after a ton of it isn't really the thing.
Yep.
The person comes first. And so in what I do, I mean, I'm super grateful to be able to make a great living, but very early on, I went, I'm not going to really obsess over this for any amount of time, to be honest, because I'd rather sacrifice making $100,000 a month like everyone wants to do and then brag about. I'd rather make, I don't know, half or a quarter of that and then have some good conversations and enjoy my life a little bit more. So that's where the productivity thing comes in for me, because I used to be robotic about absolutely everything. I think now people would still consider it pretty robotic, but I'm way more productive now because I probably know 100 times more people.
Yeah.
I probably make 100 times more money, and I worry 100 times less about being on the minute, every minute for every minute of my day and my life.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in productivity now that I've found. So yeah, that's kind of a freeing thing to hold on to.
Yeah. I love that. Well, thank you for joining us. That was absolutely amazing. Where can the people find you?
Cru Mahoney on nearly everything. So CRUMAHONEY. It's not Kruma. Everyone says, people market to me and they send me emails and they go, Kruma. I go, well, you obviously didn't look that far into my page.
When people spell my name wrong in a DM to me, I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
That's rough. But Cru Mahoney, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.com, all that good stuff. But that's where you can find me.
Beautiful. Well, thank you.
Absolutely. This was fun.
I was going to say me too, but yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. Made it happen.